Welcome, everybody. Answers by Guest, special Saturday edition this week, week 9. I mean, the season just flies by. I absolutely hate it. Seems like it just starts, and then next thing you know, we're almost in the double digits already. So we got Rob on the other side. Say hello. Whenever you're ready, we're going to try and go pretty quick this week. I kind of like it, Rob. I had an idea. I didn't talk to you about it, but since we're doing a Saturday video and people probably, hopefully, are watching at least the beginning of this, this gives you about 24 hours to get your questions in. So I'd love to hear a lot of questions from people or just who they think are going to be the contrarian plays, because that's kind of the thing that we try and do is give, some of the players that nobody else is really talking about. That's what we set out to do. So hopefully if you're watching this far into the video, you leave us some comments, you leave us some questions, and we got 24 hours to take care of them.
All right, guys. Yeah, Answers by Guest, man. We've actually been seeing some traffic going through the website, too, which is definitely huge on Facebook. So keep it coming, guys. All right, we're going to jump right into it. Baltimore at Tennessee. Baltimore coming off an impressive win against Miami last Thursday. I don't know. This Baltimore defense is just mind-blowing to me, man. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but it's been pretty solid. I mean, that was probably my best pickup last year in our Dynasty League, to be honest with you. And Tennessee coming off the bye. Delaney Walker questionable. Mariota questionable. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking for Baltimore, the story all year long has been Flacco. They don't want him to have to throw a ton. Now the big question is he even going to play? And, how with it is he going to be? A lot of people talking about Ryan Mallett this week. So I don't think I'd feel really safe with any Baltimore receivers just because you're not sure who's going to be out there, how capable they're going to be. Even though the Tennessee defense is terrible, Alex Collins looked like a beast last week. They said they're going to get him more touches, but you still have Javorius Allen back there. You got Danny Woodhead getting ready to come back. I don't know. I feel pretty good about Collins this week or Allen. Wallace and Macklin have been dinged up, hit or miss on both of them. I wouldn't really start any Baltimore players unless it was maybe Collins, maybe Allen, and like you said, that defense. Tennessee, you talked about it. Walker banged up. Jonnu Smith, this could be his week. I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at Corey Davis, Baby T.O., Terrell Owens Jr. I'm looking at him to really make a splash this week. So I like him as a nice contrarian sleeper. Throw him in your lineup as a 3. Jonnu Smith, if you're in a tight end pinch. I like both of those guys. The running backs, I wouldn't touch either one. Murray could get something. He can get shut down. Henry could get something. He can get shut down. That Baltimore defense is for real, man.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. And I think Murray's questionable, if I'm not mistaken. He's still those little lingering pains and stuff like that. So, yeah, I could definitely agree with that. Somebody I picked up this week was actually Decker, just because if Walker is out, Smith is definitely going to see targets, but Decker could see some targets from there too. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Tampa Bay just looks bad, man. They couldn't get any offense going against Carolina last week. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think this could be a shootout. I mean, we like these type of games in the same conference, same division. Again, let's see what you're thinking as far as Tampa Bay. Is there anybody worth starting? And New Orleans had some struggles last week. I don't know. It just seems like the offense, they played okay, but it wasn't their best game. So what do you think as far as New Orleans too?
Yeah, you think looking at this initially, excuse me, that this is going to be a shootout, and everybody's waiting for Drew Brees to have that game where he just goes off. But I think what a lot of people aren't really recognizing is that Sean Payton, all of a sudden, he wants to be more of a running team, which you've seen that. They've been running the ball with Ingram and Kamara, at a pretty good clip. And their struggles for Michael Thomas, or the owners are struggling with Michael Thomas because they expected him to be in this high-powered offense with Drew Brees slinging it, and he just hasn't been doing that. But could this be the week? Sure. I mean, the Tampa Bay corners are banged up. The defense was supposed to be solid, but they just have not shown up at all. Being at home, I could see this being the week that Drew Brees finally does go off. So you're definitely not sitting Thomas anyways. The tight ends, you can't play Hill or Fleener. Hill will probably do better than Fleener this week. So if you're in a tight end pinch, I would actually, even in DFS, I was looking, I think Josh Hill is like 2,500, which is like bottom of the barrel. Yeah. So I could see him getting a touchdown in this one. They're going to get Snead going. This is the week they said that they're finally going to get him going. So that kind of hurts your streamer Brandon Coleman sleeper play that everybody knows I love him by now. I don't know if it's going to be as high scoring because it would have to be the Saints, going against what they've been trying to do all season, which is run the ball. Yeah. They want to become more of a running team. Everybody seems to love their defense, and that Tampa Bay offense. Is Winston going to play? Is he going to be anywhere close to even 80%? If he does, Fitzpatrick's more than capable. I'd really like to see Mike Evans go in this game. This could be a game Deshaun Jackson uses his speed, but the thing's going to be, is he going to use his speed to catch a deep ball, or is he going to use his speed to chase down the New Orleans cornerbacks after they pick off Winston or Fitzpatrick and they're running in for a touchdown? So I feel safe going into this game because it looks like it's going to be a high-scoring game. I would just throw caution to the wind that this could be one of those games that like Vegas throws that over at a certain number, knowing that people are going to be, Saints at home versus the Bucs. Their defense is terrible. Bet the over. But this game might underwhelm a little bit. OJ Howard, I think actually he's going to have a pretty good week again this week. I could see him again, especially if it's Fitzpatrick or even if it is Winston. His arm strength's not there. I think they'll use him a little bit more. My favorite play of this game overall is Doug Martin. I think Doug Martin's going to have a really good game this week. He's kind of been like tapping at the door a little bit. Let me in, guys. Let me in. And I think this is the week that he finally breaks through, busts a couple long runs, scores a touchdown, maybe two. Because whether it is Winston or Fitzpatrick, they're going to lean on the run a little bit, and they're going to do it early, I think, because if they fall behind to the Saints, I don't know if they have the offensive firepower with the quarterbacks that they'll be putting out there to keep up with the Saints. And if they do fall behind, then will be 100% wrong because the Bucs just don't use Doug Martin if they fall behind.
Yeah, I agree, man. It seems like Doug gets a lot of yardage on his carries, but they're just not giving him the ball enough to be able to make something significant. That play action could be huge for them, especially with the speed of Deshaun Jackson. So I agree with you there, man.
Yeah.
All right, Los Angeles Rams at the New York Giants. I don't know, man. The Rams coming off a bye week, they haven't been the same Rams that I don't feel like they've started off the season. But it's the Giants that they're going up against. Is this what Giants team is showing up? Could there be a good defensive game? Jenkins is suspended. I think McAdoo has lost all control of that team, to be honest with you. But let's talk about the players, obviously. Shepard coming back. I think Ingram has another good game. I want your opinion on that. And I think it's all a go on Los Angeles. You think you play everybody.
Yeah, I think Shepard is going to get double-digit targets easily. Ingram will get double-digit targets easily. The other guys going out there, they're not going to have much. I think the Giants are going to try and run the ball quite often. Okay. So Darkwa and Gallman, I like both of them. Even Vereen a little bit. Probably catching a few passes. I actually think the Giants win this game. And I don't think they win it because they're the better team. And I don't think they win it because they should. It's just the reason I think they win it is because, again, I'm looking at the Vegas angle here. And I see that this line was like 3 or 3.5. And there's like 88% of people betting the Rams, and the line just has not budged at all. And that usually tells me that, and it should tell everybody, that Vegas knows the Giants are going to win this game. And they just want that money to just keep coming in on the Rams so that they can build more towers, more swimming pools. Yeah, and that's usually just how it works. So with that being the case, I think the Giants are going to put up some points because if they do win this game, they're going to have to. And I don't know if it's going to come from that defense. Like you said, Jenkins out. Because I think the Rams are going to blow up on offense. They had a week off to get ready for this. But I think Sammy Watkins has a heck of a game this week. And I think Woods and Kupp have their fair share as well. I think one of the two tight ends, Everett or Higbee, one of them will have a good game. They eat into each other. But I think the Rams players are all systems go this week. But I think the Giants are going to do pretty well, too. The problem is if you don't have Ingram, you don't have Shepard, and you don't have either Dark or Gallman that you have to put in your RB2 spot, I mean, you're not going to get points from anybody else. How are they going to win? I have no idea, but I just have a feeling that they're going to. But this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
That's what I think about this one.
Okay.
I think this one will be one of your higher-scoring games of the week.
Yeah, and I guess maybe Vegas is thinking the opposite. Maybe they think it's a low-scoring game because of defensive stats, So, yeah, let's see what happens there, man.
That could be the case. I mean, maybe they think the Giants' defense is enough to stifle this Rams offense. It's just anytime you see over even 70, 75% on a team and the line doesn't move, that tells you the entire story. I mean, you got 88% on the Rams and the line is staying at 3.5. That's not good news.
What do Rams they know? All right, let's go on to the next game. Denver at Philadelphia. I don't know, man. Denver, they're going with the new quarterback. Brock's coming in. Sanders should be coming back. Still questionable, but gives them another offensive threat. Seems like Booker's picking up. Jamal Charles is picking up. C.J. Anderson's still a little on the decline. But they're not Denver to me. They don't look like a Denver team that I think of. That defense still does a lot, but without any offense, you're not winning games. Philly looking like the best team in football right now, man. Carson Wentz, in my opinion, is the MVP right now. Really doing everything as far as throwing with his feet and just confident. Let's talk about this game.
Yeah, another classic story of one team looks like they're going way up and the other one looks like they're going way down. What happens? Broncos win. Matt, I was a big fan of Osweiler when he was in Denver. He looked better than Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning came back for the last couple games. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl, but he just looked absolutely terrible. Osweiler knows the system. Yeah. He has chemistry with their receivers because it's been the same two wide receivers there for about, seems like 10 years. And with Sanders coming back, I'm not sure if here's a tight end guy, Jake Butt, if he ever comes back. But Derby's been playing pretty well too.
Yes.
And they got a nice three-headed running back monster. And the Philly defense got a little banged up last week, lost a couple of guys, and I think that'll be just enough with Denver's defensive prowess to pull this one out. And I think Denver's going to win. I don't see a hugely high-scoring game, which is bad for me, and I think a little bad for you and a lot of people as well, because we probably have Wentz.
Yeah.
We got Ertz and Alshon and Aguilar. But I don't know. I think this game is played in the low 20s, and I think Denver pulls it out. And if they don't, it's a very close game in the end. Maybe the kicker, Elliott, kicks one to win it at the end, or McManus misses one at the end or something like that.
Let's talk about Jay Ajayi real quick, just to kind of throw it out there. Obviously, he was just picked up too as far as from a trade. Do you think he's doing anything?
Yeah, good call. He's going to play. He's going to see probably maybe 30% of the snaps, I would think. Mm-hmm. Maybe 40%, because I think this week, they're going to slowly work him into it, and then they have the bye next week. I think week 11, it'll be Ajayi's backfield. This is Blount's one and only year in Philly. He's done after this year. I think that's a big reason they got Ajayi. They liked how Ajayi looked in their joint practices. I wouldn't start him this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does a few good Jay Ajayi things, just because this offensive line is way better than Miami's was.
Yep.
This is a game where if I have Emmanuel Sanders and I look at things today, I think it's going to be a big Emmanuel Sanders game and a big Demaryius Thomas game. I see them taking the lid off a little bit. Osweiler's got an arm, man. He was in just a really bad situation last year in Houston. They didn't like him. They brought him in and they didn't like him like before week 1 even started. It was just a bad situation. The offense was not tailored to him. This offense, he had success there already. So I'm going to play, if I have to, my Denver wide receivers and feel really good about it. And if I'm in a running back pinch, I like Devontae Booker this week. As far as Philly goes, Ertz is a little hurt now. He's got a hamstring. It's killing me. It's keeping me up late at night. But I'm going to play Ertz, obviously. You're going to play Wentz if you have to, if another quarterback's on a bye, or you had Deshaun Watson that got hurt. Play Wentz, but I think they're going to try and be a little more conservative this week because they know it's a big Denver defense. They know they got the bye next week. They just want to get out with a win. They want to try and not have any injuries. I don't know. It's tough for me because I want to say Ertz is going to do well, but I think they're going to just rein it in a little bit with that Denver defense is good enough, and I think it's going to play right into the hands of Brock Osweiler. So I like my Denver players more than my Eagle players this week. Okay. And as far as the running back goes, I wouldn't play Ajayi, Blunt, or Smallwood this week.
Yeah, I'm on the fence right now about Alshon Jeffrey, man. I'm just trying to figure out, is it worth putting him out there just because?
What else you got?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't. This is bye week central, man. I mean, we didn't even mention the bye. Chicago, Cleveland, Minnesota, New England, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, Chargers. I have Thielen, who's on a bye, and it's thinking about picking up somebody else. Very tight end heavy, just because of my injury to Olsen. So, yeah, I got to figure out what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm telling you, just to wrap this game up real quick, a little more better than I did. I just think this is going to be a better game for the Denver offensive players than the Philly offensive players.
All right. Yeah, especially if you're saying what Brock can do it, man, I could agree with that. All right, let's go next game. Atlanta at Carolina. Atlanta, I mean, it's a tale of just what team's coming out there, man. I don't know. Matty Ice on the road, not as good. Julio Jones just doesn't seem like Julio Jones. Their running game's great. I think their running game is top notch still. But let's talk about those players. And Carolina, Cam Newton is kind of the same thing. It's a shell of himself. He just doesn't seem to be the same Cam Newton. Benjamin got traded. Who the heck's getting the ball now? I hope it's Ed Dickson, to be honest with you, but what are you thinking?
Another high-scoring game, I think. This one will be a good one. I think Ryan gets it going. Falcons usually do really well against the Panthers, and I also think the Panthers get it going. I think that Calvin being traded is going to be a little bit of a fire for all of them. And be like, oh boy, nothing's safe. You know, we all gotta step up. Our best offensive player is gone. We got to step up. We're at home. I like Cam this week. If you're wondering between like Cam or Wentz, like I play Cam this week. Okay. If I'm wondering between Matt Ryan and Wentz, I play Ryan this week. If you're Deshaun Watson owner and you got Matt Ryan, you got Cam, I feel really good about both of them. I think Julio has a great week this week.
Okay.
Freeman's a little banged up, but he'll be fine. But I like both those running backs, him and Coleman. I don't like Sanu, but I like him this week. I think you're going to play all of your Falcons and play all of your Panthers. I mean, Funchess is not a number one, but he is now.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to play him this week. I mean, if there's going to be a week where he's going to go off, it'll be this one. If you got Samuel and you need a wide receiver 3, you put him in there. McCaffrey, they want to lead more on the run, so you're going to play Jay Stu. Ed Dickson, like you said, I think this one's going to be a very, very good game for fantasy owners. So I like all these guys. I mean, who's a sleeper in this game? Austin Hooper.
Ooh, okay. I can take Hooper. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, You think he's going to go on the outside? I mean, Sanu's been playing pretty well. Yeah, I could see. Wow, interesting. I wouldn't think Hooper, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of passes over the middle, I could see too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, no Kuechly, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's big. All right, let's go. Next game, Cincinnati at Jacksonville. Cincinnati is a decent team, man. I mean, they play well. Joe Mixon hasn't shown up the way I want Joe Mixon to show up, but do they do something against this Jacksonville defense, or does he do something against this Jacksonville defense? AJ Green didn't look like AJ Green last week as well, but Jacksonville coming off a bye, I saw a lot of people picking up Blake Bortles, man. D.D. Westbrook is going to more than likely be playing a lot of these snaps, they're saying, too. Lee a little hurt. Let's talk about it.
AJ Green, there's no way in the world you're sitting him, but he's got Jalen Ramsey on him all game. I mean, so 4 catches for 32 might be your line. And just hope he gets a red zone touchdown to save the day and give you like 10 points or something, 12 points. I think Cincinnati defense is the number 1 play this week. I picked him up even though I didn't really need him, just because I didn't want the guy I was playing against. And I know that's like, you shouldn't do that in fantasy. You shouldn't try and block somebody. But they also, they're top 5 defense. They're actually number 1 and number 2 in yards allowed for the season. This defense is playing great because of that. And because we haven't really seen it happen yet this year, I think Bortles has a terrible game.
Okay.
I think Bortles is going to look at his new shiny toy. And believe me, I'm all about D.D. Westbrook, man. He was sick in college. He was sick in the preseason. I picked him up in the leagues I could. And I think he'll have a couple deep balls. He'll have some shots. He'll have a pretty good game. But I think Bortles is going to throw about 3 or 4 interceptions this game. I just see it happening. I see them trying to push the envelope a little bit on the receivers because Bortles had a couple good weeks in a row throwing the ball. Take the reins off him a little bit and let him sling it because they know their defense is going to keep them in it. I think the Cincinnati defense is a really good streamer play this week. Joe Mixon, he should go off. He should have done it last week. It seems like every week he's doing great. He should have had a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
And then basically the coach takes it out from under him. This could be the week again. Third term, hopefully, because Jacksonville's run defense is not that good, and Joe Mixon can catch passes. So I like him. I like him a lot this week. I like Croft this week because we're going to have to use the tight end a little bit more. We'll see if Ross gets any more involved. As far as for Jacksonville, Fournette, his first game back, from the injury and the bye. We'll see. I think that they're going to try and give him probably about 75% of what he was doing before the injury. So I still think you'll see a little bit of Ivory and then also Yeldon. So Fournette owners, you'll be fine. But remember, that Cincinnati defense, they are quietly a top 5 defense. They're like number 1 and number 2 in yards and points allowed. So this is going to be a very low-scoring game. On offense, but I think you're going to get 1 or 2 defensive touchdowns. One or 2 from each team.
Wow!
And because this is like your top 2 defenses, aside from Baltimore and maybe Minnesota, you could even throw in there. These are the best defenses in the league right now.
Gotcha. So you see this as a low-scoring game then?
Low scoring.
Okay.
Low scoring game.
Interesting, yeah.
Unless on offense, because these defenses can also do house calls.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from there, man. Yeah, I saw Yeldon being picked up a lot of places too, man, just because of the big game that he had with Fournette not playing the last time. So I don't know. I still think that's a flyer. Chris Ivory was doing well, man. I don't see him taking a lot of carries away from Ivory. So
my number 1 blurb from this game is if you are picking up Bortles because you lost Watson or you got somebody on bye, go somewhere else. I'd rather have Brock Osweiler. I would rather have him.
Gotcha.
I think you're going to see Blake Bortles be Blake Bortles this week. And I love Blake Bortles. I mean, I've been a big fan of his since the beginning. But he hasn't had a game where he's thrown multiple interceptions. I think this is the one.
Gotcha. All right, let's move it along, bud. Indianapolis at Houston. The tale of the quarterbacks. Both found out. I mean, Andrew Luck not coming back, put on IR. Deshaun Watson, heartbreaking. Tore his ACL, non-contact injury in practice. I don't know what kind of game this is going to be, to be honest with you. I can't even figure out. Is there even anybody worth starting? I mean, maybe Lamar Miller on Houston. I could see them running the ball a lot now, especially that they have Savage back. One thing that my buddy Mike told me, you're going to see Hopkins go from here to here very quickly. So let's talk about it.
Well, here's the thing about that. I see a lot of people saying the same exact thing, but if you look back to when Hopkins burst on the scene 2 years ago, his quarterback situation was worse than Tom Savage. It was.
Yeah, okay.
He still went bonkers. Last year was his only really down year. But the year before that was when he burst on the scene. I think he was the number one wide receiver, and his quarterbacks, I think he had like 6 different quarterbacks 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he still went bonkers. I don't think, I mean, obviously he goes down some, but I don't think he falls off the map. I think he's still a wide receiver 1, at worst, one of the best wide receiver 2s. I would still play Hopkins because.
What about Fuller?
Fuller's tough because yes, he was getting a touchdown for every 2 balls he catches. But a lot of those too were relatively deep ones, and I don't know if Savage is going to throw the ball deep. This game's going to be interesting because I think you have 2 teams now with 2 different mindsets. I think Houston is going to be a little bit deflated. They're going to be like, oh, man, our quarterback's gone, this sucks. Whereas most people would be like, they think they got to step it up. They're going to step it up. I don't think so. I think they're going to be a little bit flat because of this news. And I think that Indy on the other sideline is going to be a little pumped up, like, all right, we got a chance. We don't have to stop Deshaun Watson. And I think they're going to be pumped up. I think Indy's going to win this game.
Okay.
I see that happening. I think Brissett has a really good game. The Houston defense has been good, but they're banged up still. They're banged up on the back end. They're banged up in the front. I think Brissett's going to have a good game. I think this is the week. If you are benching him because he's sucked, T.Y. Hilton has a game this week.
He was on the trading block, man. He was on the trading block.
But I think this is the week. There's my number 1 week 9 prediction. T.Y. Hilton has a week this week. Right. If you do not start him, you will be one of those people who a couple weeks ago were all over the internet going, oh, Amari Cooper, 50 points on my bench. That's why you play your studs. You just keep plugging them out there because sooner or later they're going to bust off. T.Y. busts off this week. Marlon Mack busts off this week. Indy wins this game by at least a touchdown. But it's not really Tom Savage's fault. The whole team just sort of is a little deflated. They were partying yesterday in Houston for the World Series, those jerks. Their head just won't be in this game the way it should be, and it's a division game, and your head's always got to be in it. Indy shows up. The Indy Stars show up. They have a great game. I'd still play DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller, I'd still put him in there as a wide receiver 3. Trust me, this team, these wide receivers, and Will Fuller too was around with the crappy quarterbacks and had really good games.
Yeah.
So it's not, yes, Deshaun Watson was amazing, but we've seen both of these receivers do extremely well with terrible quarterbacks.
That's a good point, man.
Tom Savage, everybody, think about this. A lot of people aren't thinking about this, and I thought about it when Deshaun Watson got hurt. Tom Savage was the starter because he was better off than Watson.
True.
Tom Savage only played 1 game because he looked terrible. Tom Savage looked terrible against who? Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the best defense and best secondary in the league.
Yep.
The Colts are not. The Colts are one of the worst. So if you're thinking, oh, Tom Savage, he sucks, I've got to bench my guys. I don't know if you do, because he sucked against the Jaguars, and everybody said, this guy sucks against the Jaguars. How could he be any good? Well, now everybody's on the Jaguars. Oh, they're so awesome, Well, it's the same exact team. I think Savage is going to be fine. Right. I think Hopkins is going to be fine. I think Fuller will be fine. Not as fine as Hopkins. I'm not sweating it. Okay. It sucks if you own Deshaun Watson. Is their production going to go down in the receivers? Yes. But is it going to be as bad as people are thinking? No, it's not, because Tom Savage was terrible, but he was terrible against the best defense in the league week 1. They'll be okay, but they won't win this game.
Gotcha. All right, cool, man. Let's go on to the next game. Arizona at San Francisco. Two bad teams. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I think this is the week that San Francisco pulls it out, though. I mean, to be honest with you, Garcon though on IR. I think Goodwin. My man Goodwin. I love that kid, man. I don't know. I mean, he didn't show up last week, but I could see him having a game this week.
It is.
And as far as Arizona, AP Fitzgerald. Anybody else?
Goodwin. Yeah, I think San Francisco wins as well. But can he be a possession guy?
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is it going to be Trent Taylor?
Yeah, I don't know. I can see Kittle getting a lot of burn probably too, man.
Definitely. What's going to be tough here is that Beathard pretty much knows he doesn't have a starting job anymore. I mean, next week they play, and I think their bye is week 11, if I'm not sure. So Garoppolo will be playing week 12. So Beathard pretty much has 2 games to show what he can do to anybody else who might want him.
They play the Giants next week, and I believe you're right, week 11 is their bye week.
Their bye. Yeah, I mean, as far as for Arizona, I think Adrian Peterson's going to have a heck of a week. I mean, it's Stanton. So it's going to be Fitz, the short and intermediates, and I think they're going to run the heck out of the ball.
Gotcha.
I think Adrian Peterson's going to have a game like he had 3 weeks ago or whatever, his first game in Arizona 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, I would feel very confident putting Adrian Peterson out as my RB2 this week. San Francisco defense is not that good. Drew Stanton sucks, so they'll probably stack the box. But if there's anybody in the league who's faced more stacked boxes than anyone else, it's Adrian Peterson. So he knows how to beat it. So play him, play Fitz in your 3 if you have to. Goodwin, Goodwin's going to be the guy, but will he get the most receptions? You'll learn a lot this week, I think, in this game. I do think San Francisco wins. San Francisco and Arizona always play a field goal game.
Yep.
So it's going to be close. So the running backs will be involved. Hyde will be involved. I'm going back 15 years. Hyde will be involved. Not sure if Breeda's cleared to play yet. He might be. I don't know. I would feel fine, forgetting about this game, which means it'll probably be the most entertaining game this week.
Probably. That's how it seems to be working out every week, man.
Yeah, but Adrian Peterson, I like him the most out of anybody in this game this week.
And just to give you a heads up, Breida has been removed from the injury report, so he will be playing this week. All right, let's go on to the next one. Washington at Seattle. I just think that Seattle, I don't even want to know if we want to talk about this game, to be honest with you. I don't think Washington has a chance. 12th man in Seattle. What Russell Wilson did last week, he threw the ball to everybody, man, and everybody had a good game in Seattle. The running back situation, they said they're going to give it to Lacy. Let's talk about that. And then Washington, I'll let you go from there, man. I have no clue.
Yeah, I talked about last week. We won our first Survivor pool, so the guy did a second one. My initial instinct was Seattle. So I took Seattle. I do think Seattle wins. But there's another thing. I was looking at the Vegas lines. This line opened at about 7.5. You got about close to 80% of the people on Seattle, and the line is staying exactly where it should be, like right at 7.5, 8. That tells me Washington somehow is going to keep this closer than I imagine.
Okay.
But yeah, they say they're going to lean on Lacey. They got their new offensive lineman this week in their trade, so they're going to bolster that line. I think Jimmy Graham is the best player in this game this week. I see 2 touchdowns out of him.
Ooh, 2 touchdowns back-to-back weeks? I like that.
About 10 catches, 9 or 10 catches. He's going to have over 100 yards. He's going to have 2 touchdowns. He's going to be your tight end of the week by far. And I like Paul Richardson in this one. I think Tyler Lockett's fallen a little bit out of favor.
Okay.
He had a pretty good game. I mean, he
had
a
over
good
100
game
yards, man.
Yeah, he's been having good games. But I think Paul Richardson's sort of taken over that number 2. They really like him. I really like him. He's a slick receiver.
He has great hands, man. I mean, Russell Wilson's just throwing the ball up to him, and you can see him coming down pretty much with everything and playing with the motion. I mean, every single time he catches that ball, it looks like he loves this game.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think Pete Carroll loves him there, because it's a Pete Carroll emotion. He plays like Pete Carroll would play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wilson's been going nuts. I do think if Lacey does get going, that's going to help take a little bit off of Wilson, which is going to also help with Jimmy Graham, because then your play actions and everything else come into play.
Yep.
Washington, their defense is ridiculously banged up. Their offensive line is ridiculously banged up. Kirk Cousins has looked terrible. I talk about it every single week. He takes the snap. He stands there and stares down one receiver. He never looks in the other direction, and it's usually an incomplete pass. On top of that, his wide receivers have looked terrible. Crowder's not going to play this game. Reed's not going to play this game. The ageless wonder, Vernon Davis, is probably going to kill me this week playing against him in a couple places, but I hope not. So that means you're going to have Ryan, Gruden, Grant on the field. You're going to have Pryor on the field, and you're going to have Doxson on the field all at the same time, because Crowder's not going to play. Which one of those 3 will do well? No one knows. Bench them all. Who cares? If they are one of your choices right now, seriously, D.D. Westbrook's got to be out there. Corey Davis won't even be out there, depending on the size of your league.
Yeah,
I would even pick up my boy. My boy last week did terrible. He's playing against the Denver secondary. Demarcus Robinson. We're going to talk about this game, I think, next. I mean, he's going to have a good game against Dallas. So if I'm looking and I see Washington, any of Washington's 3 available wide receivers as my wide receiver 3 this week, I'm not playing any of them, and I'm picking up somebody off of waivers.
All right. Yeah, that's why I said that. Just even starting it off, I was just like, what do you do? Yeah,
Thompson.
No
Play Thompson.
Thompson, I think, is your only viable option there.
And Vernon Davis.
Okay, yeah. I
love Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
He stares him down, he throws him the ball, and somehow he still catches it and runs 40 yards every single time. Vernon Davis, Thompson, that's it. But somehow Vegas thinks that Washington's still going to keep it close. I play all my Seahawks. I won't play any of my Redskins. But somehow Redskins will stay in it, it seems. I don't know.
Yeah, what's funny is that I saw a video of Russell Wilson dressed up as Pete Carroll for Halloween. If you get a chance, watch that, man. He is hilarious. I mean, down to the sneakers and everything that the guy wears. It's really
nice.
funny, man.
Does he chewing gum?
Yes. You can see him chewing gum. He had the wig on. Take a look when you get a chance.
That's great.
All right, you're right. We went the next game, KC at Dallas, man. Kelsey had a game last week, man. He looked like Kelsey again. Seems to have gone over the little injuries that he was having here and there. Let's talk about you're thinking Robinson. I heard that. Zeke so freaky, back playing again. This guy has the best luck in the world, or he just knows something that he can just keep on appealing. I'm playing Zeke. I know I'm playing Zeke. 100%. I mean, I think he's going to be a monster this game. But let's talk about it.
This is your highest scoring game of the week.
Okay.
Someone might even hit 40 in this one. It'll be 40-something to 30-something. Or this one's going to be fun. Tyreek Hill's going to go off. It seems he does really good, then not so good, then really good, then not so good. Last week he didn't do that good. This week he's going to do well. Kelsey's still going to kill it. Demarcus Robinson, I just talked about him. I think he has a pretty good week this week. There's no Albert Wilson this week. I believe he's hurt again, and he's going to be out. And the Dallas secondary is nowhere near as good as Denver's is, and everybody knows that. I like Alex Smith. I like Kelsey. I like Hill. I like Demarcus Robinson. Kareem Hunt gets back into the end zone this week at least once, maybe twice. So please, I hope somebody out there is not benching him. You got to keep playing him. This is the week he goes bananas. And Dallas players are going to play every single one. Daz is going to go crazy. I like Bryce Butler a lot in this game. Cole Beasley, I'm not sure if he's going to be back.
Up, man.
He's banged up. I think Bryce Butler is going to have a game. I still like him over Terrence Williams. I think Witten will do pretty good this week. I mean, the linebacker core for Kansas City's tough, but I think Dak's going to have a really good game. I think Zeke's going to have a really good game. If I have any Cowboys or any Chiefs, I'm loving them because this is going to be a fun one. Points all around for all of the players. This one, because Dallas is going to score a ton. I just have that feeling.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see Zeke with at least 2 touchdowns, man.
They're pumped up. Zeke's back. Everybody's fired up. They had a game plan going in anyways that was Dak heavy. Yep. They're not going to change that, so they're still going to be passing. They're just going to throw in a few more Zeke runs, maybe Zeke catches. It's going to open up everything deep. Anyways, with Zeke still being there, and Kansas City, their offense is great. They didn't look good last week, but people don't realize. They're like, oh, man, Kansas City, they suck again. Well, no, they played Denver.
Yeah.
Relax. Now they're playing Dallas. Their defense is terrible. This one's going to be high scoring on both sides. Play all your players from both these teams. I love it.
And you're right, man. I mean, Denver, they still put up 29 points on Denver. That's still a great week, man. A lot of people are missing that. My man Butker. I just wanted to say put it out there.
Yeah. And the difference in this game could be him, and I forget who is it. It's Dallas's kicker, the guy who used to be with the Bengals, right?
Yeah, I can't think of the kid's name right now. Man.
But I think the difference, as you look it up, the difference could be between him and Dallas's kicker because they don't have Bailey. I think they have I forget the guy's name, but he didn't look that good. He didn't look Dan Bailey good. So this one could come down to a field goal either way, and the winner, will either make or miss a field goal.
Gotcha. Is it Mike Nugent?
Yeah, it's Nugent, right?
Yeah, I think Nugent was the one that got picked up. That sounds makes sense.
Play for Cincy.
Yeah, Mike Nugent. Yep.
Yeah, so I think either he's going to miss one or make one, or Butker. I mean, that's what it could come down to. But I love every player in this game, even Demarcus Robinson. I know I told a lot of people to play him. Last week was a tough one, though. But, I figured Hill would have a down game. They'd have to throw somewhere. Well, they did. They threw to Kelsey.
Yep. That's exactly what it was, man.
Kelsey just tore him apart, so there's no reason to throw to Robinson. Well, this week there might be. So
yeah, Albert Wilson is out, just to give you a heads up. So, yep, good call on that. All right, 8:30 game, Oakland at Miami.
I like Miami.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think Miami too.
Coming back, Cutler coming back. I've said it all along. Cutler's not been as bad as people think. It's been the offensive line, which is still a problem. It's been the receivers dropping the ball, which is not as much of a problem now because Parker's back. He's going to look to feed Parker.
Yeah. And you know what? I think Drake's going to have a good game too, man. He's going to be pumped up. I am the starter now. Let's go out there, and I'm going to show you what I can do.
Yeah. And anybody that knows me or knows from the videos my thoughts on the Oakland defense, they're terrible.
Yeah.
So this one, I like Cooper, Amari in this game. I like Crabtree. No Marshawn Lynch still, right?
I don't know if Lynch is playing, man.
I feel like he might never play again. Yeah. I think he might just be done.
Let's see. I mean, it's not saying that he's questionable. Lynch returned from 1-game suspension this week, so
I would not play him because from what it sounds like is he's done with football now after being suspended. He's a little crybaby. He'd rather complain about anything than focus his attention to football. So DeAndre Washington, if you got to throw something out there, he looks like he's he's sort of taking it away from Richard, but every time that happens, Richard takes it away from him. So I like Cooper. I like Carr. Miami defense isn't great. They're good, but they never play as good as they should. Crabtree's fine. But I love Parker. And we were talking about quarterbacks earlier. If you picked up Bortles, drop him and pick up Cutler. Because
hey, it's a national game, man. He's in the light. And Cutler's been there a lot of times. And usually when he's in the light, he actually plays pretty well. So
yeah,
I can see that being a good game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, to be honest with you. But
yeah, Miami wins, though.
Okay. Let's move on to Monday night, man.
Oakland had a magical year last year, which I kind of saw coming. And then it all fell apart when Carr. Stuff happens. Teams have really good years, and the next year they're just not good. I mean, look at Atlanta this year. Look at Carolina last year.
Yeah.
They just kind of, it's like a flash in the pan type thing.
I got you, man. You know what? I think it makes a big difference that a lot of people just aren't realizing. Murray was a good player over there in Oakland last year, man. And Lynch has not done anything that Murray was doing. So if you don't get that running game going, it doesn't open it up for your receivers, man. So
that's a great call.
All right, let's move on to Monday night. Detroit at Green Bay. I like this matchup, man. I honestly think this could be another really high-scoring game. Both from a defensive standpoint, not the greatest defenses, but Golden Tate getting a little healthier. Stafford, I think, is be really good, man. I think he's going to be throwing the ball a lot this week.
He could have killed it last week.
Yeah.
Do you realize how many times they were in the red zone? What they had? 6 field goals? 5 or 6 field goals, at least.
5 field goals last week, yeah.
And they were like around the 10-yard line. Yeah. Like he could have had 4 or 5 touchdowns last week. And if he did, could you imagine what people would be saying about Matt Stafford right now?
Yeah, very true.
They're not. Yeah. If he had 4 or 5 touchdowns, he'd be like, "Oh, Matt Stafford, you're number 1 from week 8. Now he's going to Green Bay, the Swiss cheese defense. He's your number 1 quarterback this week." But nobody's talking about him because he didn't put it in the end zone. Yeah, I mean, and the thing too about that is like Ebron finally got a couple catches late in the game. I said that he was going to have a good game. He had a couple drops. He had a couple balls where Stafford just didn't look his way and he was wide open. It's really tough. I think for Monday, I think Green Bay's going to win this one. Okay. I said it before their bye. Brett Hundley is not as bad as advertised. They did nothing to help his cause week 7. I said this before. They played like they were the 2000 Ravens. He's not Trent Dilfer. Your defense is not good. I think they're going to take the reins off him a little bit this week and let him throw. He's got a heck of an arm. So I think that's going to surprise. I think they're going to come right out and try and punch Detroit in the mouth. If they win the coin flip or whatever, McCarthy usually likes to defer and kick the second half or receive in the second half, kick in the first. Yep. He might receive the ball just so they can come out with their offense and throw the ball down the field because Detroit is not expecting that. Nobody is. They're expecting Green Bay to give it to Jones, let him run the ball, maybe a short pass or a scramble. I think they're going to let Hundley throw it this week, and I think they're very smart to do it. I think Slay is going to be on Adams. So if you're a Jordy Nelson owner, I think this could be a good week for him. Randall Cobb, I like him this week. Martellus Bennett is just about done. He's already said he's going to retire. He's hurt now. So Richard Rodgers is going to be in there this week. So we'll see how that goes. I like
Rodgers, man. So, yeah, I could see that working out for him too.
And the other thing I could see, which I don't like because I'm somehow playing against him, somehow my opponent fantasized me, is put Ty Montgomery in there. I could see him going in, playing on the field in like some sort of formation where it's Jones and Montgomery always runs routes, and Jones is back there to run the ball or do like an RB screen. So I think McCarthy's going to come up with some plays. They're going to go down the field. I think Green Bay's going to win this game. Stafford on the other side, Tate coming back. Tate's going to be good. I still think Ebron can beat this defense. No Galladay, he's a bum. He can't get healthy. Marvin Jones is going to do good. I like Marvin Jones, Tate, Stafford, Ebron, and I like Jordy, Hundley if I have to play. Because if they do what they should do, Hundley will be fine. Aaron Jones, and some reason I like Ty Montgomery, probably because I'm playing against him.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from, bud.
But high scoring, I don't
High
see
scoring,
why.
yeah, I could see it just being thrown. And you're right. I mean, with them coming off the bye week, there is a plan in place, and I think they're going to be pushing that offense in Green Bay. So
Yeah, they can't do what they did last game.
yeah.
They should have beat New Orleans. There's no reason they should have lost that game. Their defense played lights out. They lost because every single time they were trying to throw a 2-yard pass or run the ball, and they had so many 3-and-outs. It was you can't win. You can't win that way.
Exactly. You can't be too conservative, man.
They
All right, just to
can't.
go-
They stopped the Saints. 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 Sooner or later, it's not going to work. Sooner or later, it didn't. The Saints scored 2 touchdowns towards the end and blew it out.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Answered by guess again. Bye week: Chicago, Cleveland, Minnesota, New England, Pittsburgh, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Mr. Guest himself is giving you a lot of players, man. So let's see it. We want to hear from you. Saturday edition. So that gives you a lot of time to start asking these questions.
Come in. Questions. Give them to us.
All
Please.
right. All right. Say goodbye, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Peace, guys.
See ya.